34.3, 33.9 there, and this Manny Ginobili played basically 17 the regular season, 25 now, 50% more. So he's been resting. That's for San Antonio. Whereas LeBron James played 35.1 and is 41.1 now. Dwayne Day, hey boy, Wade 29.2 and 32.9 plus a little bit, and Bosch basically about the same. He's 32.1 in the playoffs, a 7% change, and 29.9 on regular season there. Danny Green was the 3-point man today. He's played 26.8 and there's 30.4 in the playoffs. That's a change of 13%. So this is how San Antonio is doing, quote unquote, the magic. So we move on with the rest of the scores today, as we spent a little time going through the famed NBA playoffs. The Nationals lost at Indiana today, and we got to get rid of that. And the Brewers lost to the Reds in Cincinnati. The Red Sox lost to the Orioles in Baltimore 3-6. Poor Cubbies lost to the Mets in New York 3-4. The Royals beat the Rays 5-3. The Cardinals lost to the Marlins 2-7 in Florida. The Tigers, Baltimore, Carol like this, 5-3 over the Twins. The LA Dodgers lost to the Pirates in Pittsburgh. The White Sox lost to the Astros, a intercollegiate game there, 4-5. The Diamondbacks lost to the Padres in San Diego 1-4. The Blue Jays beat the Rangers, George Bush's old team in Texas, 7-2. The Rockies defeated the Phillies 5-2 in the Rockies. And the Yankees beat the Angels, very good game there, 6-5 in Anaheim. The Giants were blanked by the Atlanta team, 3-0. The Mariners lost to the Oakland Athletics, 2-10. And did we get everyone in here that should have been in here? I guess we did. We didn't miss anyone out of here. So that does it for the baseball scores. They will forever disappear. And we'll move on, as they say, to bigger and better things. Another poll here from Mr. Silver shows chemical weapons that affect public views towards Syria. Remember, WND, this is basically the same thing. They're showing various polls here. Does the U.S. have a responsibility in Syria? These polls are running from the New York Times, Pew, and CNN. The no was 61% in the Times poll. That was taken in April. Another Times poll about the same. They were all in the 60s, in other words. A Pew poll, 64% no, 25% yes. A CNN poll, 73% no. If the Assad regime used chemical weapons, this was the deal breaker. In May, 60% favored 66% military intervention. 30% opposed it. A Pew one again, and this was in April. 45% favored intervention, 31% opposed it. And a Washington Post from way back in December of 2012. 63% favored it, 30% opposed it, and you see where that is going. Sending small arms and ammo in, boom. So in other words, all change very, very quickly. Incidentally, you will hear a discussion from Face Nation, Bob Sheeper, on the entire cyberspace situation here. Now, this just broke. These intercepts that happened in London by the intelligence service. This took place part in two G20 summits meetings in London in 2009. So Mr. Snowden has more things. Delegates were tracked using internet cafes, which had been set up by British intelligence agencies to read their emails. The revelation came as the British prepared to host another summit, the G8. Can they be trusted? The answer to that is no. Disclosure raises a new question about the boundaries of surveillance by GCHQ and its American sister organization, the National Security Agency. So that has been in the news. More schemes, nefarious schemes that they have been part of, and we can get the rest of the story up here. We'll be in good shape. The internet cafes we got on, penetrating the security on delegates' Blackberries to monitor their emails and phone calls, supplying 45 analysts with around-the-clock summaries of who was phoning who at the summit, targeting the Turkish finance minister, possibly 15 others in his party, receiving reports from the NSA's attempt to eavesdrop on the Russian leader Dmitry Medvedev. I had his pronunciation down, now he's gone. Anyway, as phone calls passed through satellite links back to Moscow. The document suggests that the operation was sanctioned in principle at senior levels of Gordon Brown's government. A briefing paper dated 2009 records advice given by GCHQ officials to their director there. And a meeting with then Foreign Secretary David Miliband. The official summarizes Brown's aims at the meetings, and began on the 2nd of April. The meetings did, that is, in which an attempt was to deal with economic aftermath of the 2008 banking or depression. Added that GCHQ intended to ensure that intelligence relevant to GMH, desire outcome for its presidency of the G20 reach consumers at the right time. The document especially referred to intelligence products being passed to ministers, and according to materials seen by The Guardian, these two generated this product by attacking both computers and phones of delegates. So in other words, the whole thing was staged. The same document reflects that GCHQ, MI5, and others set up internet cafes. We talked about that, where they were able to do key logging and provide credence for foreign delegates' meetings. We have sustained intelligence options against them even after the conference is finished. This appeared to be a reference to acquiring delegates' online login information. Another document summarized a substantial campaign to penetrate South African computers. Recordings that they gained access to the network of their foreign ministry. Investigating phone lines being by the High Commissioner in London. Retrieving documents including briefings from the South African delegation to the G20 and G8 meetings. South Africa is a member of G20, has observer status at G8. Detailed report records efforts of the national NSA to intercept specialists at Milford Hall, that's in North Yorkshire, to target and decode encrypted phone calls from London to Moscow. We talked about that one. Other documents, you can see their satellite dish on our marquee. The operation appeared to have run for a full 6 months. One document records, that's in March of 2009, GCHQ was working on an official requirement to deliver live dramatic updates updating graphic of telepathy here, call records for targeted G20 delegates, and continue on there. Another document, G20 finance ministers met in London in September. Again, this GCHQ took advantage of that to spy on delegates. We already talked about the Turkish finance minister. And for the first time, analysts had live pictures. Just think of this. This is futuristic. Who was talking to whom? That updated constantly and automatically. The second review implied that the analysts' findings were being relayed rapidly to British representatives at the G20, a negotiating advantage which their allies and opposing numbers may not have been aware of. In a live situation such as this, intelligence received may be used to influence events on the ground, no doubt about that. So now with these revelations from Mr. Snowden, all is not well. Suspicion falls on the G8 summit as President Obama goes in to try to sell this intervention of his into Syria, and will they get the no-fly zone, which is a violation of international law? One does not know, but one will definitely see. So more catastrophe meets them as they move along. So this is a situation that we'll see, and then in the meantime, President Putin was accused of literally stealing a Super Bowl ring. It was a Patriots Super Bowl ring in St. Petersburg. But Putin backs Assad. This is from The Guardian. Berates West over a proposal to arm them. Diplomatic breakthrough in the Syrian civil war at the G8 summit in Northern Ireland. Appears unlikely when the Russian President Vladimir Putin chastised the West for considering arming Syrian rebels, saying that they eat human organs. Speaking after a difficult meeting with Putin at number 10 Downing Street, David Cameron, the right-wing prime minister, claimed both men were in agreement on the needs to end the human catastrophe of the civil war. The ice exchange at the press conference, Putin said, you will not deny that one does not really need to support people who not only eat their enemies but open up their bodies, eat their intestines in front of public cameras. Or is it barbarians into bestiality? Are these the people you want to support? So in other words, this whole thing is beginning to be a fiasco before it actually starts. Putin followed the decision by the President, Barack Obama, to rearm them. We talked about that. To overthrow President Bashar al-Assad. And the Syrian government's use of chemical weapons, they claim. Now, this is like WMD. Their standards of proof are not the same. In other words, they don't have standards of proof. And this is a big, big problem for President Obama, because today, and this is something very important to note, today in social media, instant news arriving faster than cable used to be able to do it. The president is risking a situation where this blows up his face like WMD, that these so-called chemical weapons used by the Assad government were actually used by the rebels, the bandits as the Syrians call it. So if this were to happen, this whole thing would be discredited. The piling on would start with the rest of the piling on. It could be a literal disaster. We saw his national security advisor today talking about it, but they don't really understand the implication of this. Can they sell it to the American people? They're not going to sell it to the world on the world stage. And now this fiasco in 2009 with spying on delegations, that'll be the headlines in the newspapers in London and all over the world today on Monday. So we're seeing this already come up. Now Cameron, he's under pressure from his coalition partner, the Liberal Democrats, to avoid dragging Britain into a military conflict. Nick Clegg, Liberal Dem leader, implied the case for intervention was less clear-cut than in Libya or Iraq. So in other words, this whole thing is in trouble before it ever literally gets started. So amongst the G8, the Canadian Prime Minister Stephen Harper claimed Putin was backing Assad's thugs. Well, Assad's thugs have not been, as he called them, have not been accused literally of eating people